Warning: some viewers may find the following opinions disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's no secret that getting a successful manga published in Shueisha's magazine, Weekly Shonen Jump, is quite the difficult task. In today's landscape, fans have seen many fallen series. Now for those of you who recently started this fun hobby, can you imagine the amounts of manga series that didn't see the light of day because it had to compete with the likes of One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach? Well, on December 1st, 2003, Death Note made its debut and ran until May 15, 2006. So for about 3 years, 108 chapters, and 12 volumes to its name, Death Note carved its own path during the Big Three's reign and became a cult classic. So instead of 2003, what if Death Note started in 2023? Would this beloved classic stand out amongst the series of today? I don't doubt that if Death Note started today, it would garner fans. Seeing that series like Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise are all quite successful in their darker storytelling, Death Note will definitely fit in with what some of the fans take interest in today. But with the existence of the Dark Trio, would Death Note have the same impact it had in 2003 if it started today? Let's take a look at those chapters. Right off the bat, we start off with two perspectives. In the realm of Shinigami, an unnamed Shinigami finds every day boring. In the human world, an unnamed student thinks the world is a rotten mess. The Shinigami leaves his realm for the human world in order to find the Death Note he dropped. The student, like Yagami, finds the Death Note on the floor. He takes it home and reads the instructions on how the Death Note works. 5 days later, the Shinigami Ryuk makes his presence known and introduces himself to Light. Light tells Ryuk he has been waiting for him and then shows Ryuk the names he's written in the Death Note. Ryuk shares some things with Light regarding the Death Note. Light asks Ryuk why he chose him, only for Ryuk to tell him he dropped the Death Note because he was bored. Light tells Ryuk that he too was bored, and we have a flashback of the first day Light found the Death Note. Light wanting to test out the Death Note, he watches the local news. The news shows the name and face of a man who killed and barricaded himself with hostages. Light writes his name in the Death Note, and 40 seconds later, the man dies of a heart attack. Needing more proof, Light writes the name and cause of death of a biker disturbing a woman on the street. Seconds later, the biker dies. Realizing that Death Note works, Light decides to use it to change the world. At the G8 Summit, law enforcement from around the world is having a meeting discussing the mysterious deaths of criminals the last few days. The chapter ends as an unknown man says he might need help from the police to solve the case. With the Death Note in his possession, Light incorporates it into his daily life. Back at the G8 Summit, we see more of the discussion had from the last chapter. They question whether or not the recent deaths of criminals are considered murder and how it's possible to do something on that scale. One of the Japanese representatives suggests this is a job for L, who is the unknown man from the previous chapter. Unbeknownst to those present at the G8 Summit, a man named Watari informed those present that L has been investigating the case. L requests the assistance of the Japanese police because he believes these strings of murders are being carried out by someone in Japan. He then shares his plan to confront the killer. Back at Light's room, Light shows Ryuk what people think about his actions online. He tells Ryuk that this is what the public actually think. Those who are innocent cheer Kira on, while those guilty are fearful of him. Light's TV then switches to a broadcast from Interpol where a man named Lind L. Taylor is shown on screen. He talks about what has been happening to the criminals and how Kira, the man responsible, will be caught. He then tells Kira that what he is doing is evil. Hearing this, Light proclaims he is righteous and proceeds to write L's name in the Death Note. The man on screen dies after 40 seconds, only for L to share to viewers this was an experiment to see if Kira could kill without coming in contact with the victim. L proceeds to taunt Kira into killing him and sees that he's unable to do so. L reveals that he knew Kira is in Japan, as well as his first victim. Both L and Light proclaim they will take the other one down. Ryuk, sitting on the sidelines, finds all that transpired quite amusing. In the realm of Shinigami, a group of Shinigami talk amongst each other about Ryuk's whereabouts. Back in the human world, according to Light, all everyone talks about is L versus Kira. Wanting to get a short rest from it all, Ryuk asks Light if he could afford to. Light tells Ryuk he can because he has an advantage ever since picking up the Death Note. Light's younger sister asks if he could help her with her homework, and this is when Ryuk tells him that if anyone touches the Death Note, they will be able to see him. We then see L pondering why Kira couldn't kill him. He deduces a probable reason for not being able to is because Kira does not know what he looks like. Watari informs L that the meeting with the task force is about to begin. In the meeting, they go over the information they have about the criminal victim mass murder case. At the end of the meeting, L asks if there are any photos or footage that show the faces of the criminals. We find out that Light's advantage is that his father is the detective superintendent of the NPA. Light then changes how he uses the Death Note to show both police and L he has total control of when his targets die. The chapter ends as Light realizes that if he messes up, Kira would have to kill his family. If Death Note came out today with only those 3 chapters currently available to read, this series would become quite popular. It slowly builds up the world each chapter, leaving the reader wanting more. It also separates itself from the Dark Trio without having the need to have intense fighting. I would like to remind those watching that in this scenario, we don't know anything beyond chapter 3. Speaking as if I don't know what happens, if the story continued like this, I believe the series would dethrone the Dark Trio. What are your thoughts? Do you think Death Note would have the same impact if it started today? As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.